You know, we've been warning you all day, folks, about the ice is on the way, bringing slippery and dangerous conditions out there.
Yeah, we want to get you over to our Cheryl Preheim from our 11 Live streaming center. Cheryl, you are hearing more about GDOT strategy and ways to keep the roadways safe.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Remember this saying, snow slows you down, ice shuts things down. So it's really go time in terms of roads for much of the state right now. And by go time, we mean stay at home time. So we want to check in with Joe Schulman with the Georgia Department of Transportation as they have been working around the clock for a couple days here. Joe, thanks for the time. I know you guys are busy. We really appreciate the updates.
Sure, thank you for having me.
So I read a statistic that 18,000 miles of roadway have been treated at this point. Now, you're up in District 6, so that's in Rome, Dalton, Dallas, that part of our state. Talk about the efforts there. You said you've hit a major milestone in terms of the ground you've covered literally at this point.
Yeah, we have 17 counties up here in a little less than 24 hours. We started last night around 7 o'clock. We have brined all of the state routes here in Northwest Georgia. So our crews work really hard. Really want to thank them for all the hours and work they've put in to make sure that we are staying ahead of this storm the best that we can.
Yeah, they've already put in long hours and we're just getting started. What have you seen there in terms of weather? Have you seen any of this rain starting to fall or freezing rain at all?
We've seen a little bit. Some of the higher elevation counties, we've seen some. This morning we had some freezing rain, and it felt like it was just kind of a taste of what was going to be coming soon.
All right, when you talk about the brine, that is essentially salt on the road that then allows it to repel a little bit of that freezing that will happen. You said you might make a second pass. Talk to us about the efforts beyond covering all that ground where you go back and maybe do some more.
It's important to understand that the brine is really, it's our best defense against freezing ice on the roadways, but it's not perfect. If we get a system that dumps a lot of freezing rain, snow and things like that, the brine really can't compete with it. That's why we tell people just to stay home. Yes, we're treating the roads, doing our best to keep them clear and dry, but it's not a perfect system. There's a lot of weather coming through, so we suggest they stay home.
A lot of people may not realize that you don't just wait for the forecast to come in to tell you that a big system like this is coming. You do dress rehearsals knowing that at some point you're going to have to activate your plan. So this is something in some ways you prepared for months ago, right?
Yeah, when it was a hot Georgia summer, August and September, the last thing we were thinking about, a lot of us, was winter weather. And GDOT, we were going through all of our preparations. We checked every single vehicle, every piece of equipment. We went over everything with our crews, made sure they were prepared. So when this thing comes through like this, we're already ready. We're at the point where, okay, we've got all of our equipment, all of our crews, everybody knows what to do. We're just waiting on the specifics of the system to find out what we need to do to tailor it towards that storm as it comes through.
Oh, the memories of heat and humidity. Doesn't that sound nice just about now? But I'm glad you had. Yeah, wouldn't that be great? So when I first introduced you, we talked about the difference of snow and ice. Snow might slow you down, but ice really just brings things to a halt. Does that also lend for some of your equipment? Is there a point where you might have to hold your drivers back because of ice before you sort of have that phase 2 of a response?
There's a couple of aspects when you think of ice, because we talk all the time about the roads, make sure the roads are clear because of the ice. But with the winds and the amount of ice, we're also worried about trees coming down and falling limbs. So all of our crews also have chainsaws, and we've prepped them for that as well. So if there are a lot of trees coming down, a lot of limbs, we can also work to make sure those are cleared off of the roadways, not just that ice.
That's a good point about trees, and that made me think about power lines because we're also talking about the weight of ice bringing down power lines as well. Do you work in coordination with power companies as well to make sure in terms of hot lines down or just safety? Are you coordinating between the different departments?
We work really with everybody. It's not just GDOT when a storm like this comes through. Of course, we have GMA and all the local EMAs we have the utilities, first responders, police, fire, EMS. We're all working together to make sure that we can keep the citizens of Georgia as safe as possible. The big way to do that, of course, to keep people off the roads, but everybody works together to make sure we can be successful.
If you're just joining us, this is Joe Schulman with the Georgia Department of Transportation in District 6, which is that northern part of our state, talking about Rome, Dalton, Dallas, and unfortunately, that's part of this bullseye. You all may take the brunt of it. What is your expectation, let's say, for the next 12 hours?
We expect to be working hard. All of our crews are out here. We've brought crews up from South Georgia. You know, we think of Northwest Georgia or Northeast Georgia or even Metro Atlanta as these locations, but the truth of it is GDOT's a statewide organization and we help each other. When there's a storm in South Georgia, our crews go down there to help them. Winter things like this, crews from South Georgia come up to help us. We all want to help each other to make sure that we can keep everybody safe, keep those roads clear the best possible.
You know, I'm thinking about the logistics, Joe. We've got here at 11 Alive News a lot of air mattresses and snacks piled away because people will be here for many days and nights, probably consecutively. Are you having to logistically take care of your crews in the same way? Because it's probably not safe for many of them to go home intermittently as they're trying to respond for what could be many days in a row.
Exactly. And you know, that safety aspect, our crews will be out there working the roads. But when it becomes unsafe for them to be out there, they're going to return back to our shops and wait it out until they can go back out there to continue treating the roads. So we all are the same. All of us have those boxes and bags of snacks, blankets. We're ready. And as this storm progresses through and our strategy needs to change, everybody here is ready and waiting just to see what they need to do next.
Yeah, thanks to everybody working so hard on your teams. A final thought from you, if you could stress to people who are at home who may say, I just don't know that it's that big of a deal. When we're talking about ice, from black ice, very thin layer, to what we're talking about could potentially be an inch thick in some places, what would you like people to keep in mind over the next 24, 36 hours as our state recovers from what we expect to be a major impact ice storm?
The best thing I can suggest is to, NFL playoffs are tomorrow. Stay at home, watch those. Catch up on shows and movies you haven't seen yet. Just stay home, stay off the roads. K-pop Demon Hunters, my family loves it. I'm sure we'll probably be watching that. There's things like that. Just stay home. Even if you think it's not going to be bad, just stay home.
My kids at home are like, Mom, he just gave me the green light. We're going to binge watch it all. So you make sure everything's charged in case the power goes out. I think that's what the kids are thinking about. Mom, is the iPad charged? That's the key point. That's the key point.
Important things, of course.
Yeah. So 17 counties you all are taking care of there. Are you doing 12 hours on, 12 hours off? What does that look like for your teams?
Yeah, our crews right now are doing those 12 hours on, 12 hours off. We're cycling through. We've got groups coming up from South Georgia to come help out, relieve teams. And, all of that's going to change as we see how the system comes through, what the weather looks like with this freezing rain that's possible tomorrow as well, and into Monday with those cold temperatures. So we're evaluating pretty often what we should be doing for that next stage.
All right. Well, stay safe out there. And again, thanks to everybody working so hard. Really appreciate the time, Joe.
Thank you.
All right. Jennifer, Ron, you heard it. I personally would say binge watch 11 Alive Plus, but I know I'm not objective.
I agree. I would agree with you.
Just keep us on. We'll ride through the storm together all through the night and into tomorrow.
And if you're streaming other programs, you can watch those later, but you can watch us live.
They'll always be there. Live programming is once in a moment.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Cheryl, thank you so much.